You are watching Xirtus.
Okay, and here's our best buddy.
Yes, so exactly. The the German, not the Austrian,
The
but the
German John Stewart, the Austrian
German
John
John
Stewart,
Stewart.
German John
And
Stewart.
here, this is even quite recent from last week. Here, why I'm bringing this up is so we spoke previously about René Benko, who turned out to be this real estate magnate in Austria, supposedly starting from just one loft, let's say, and then expanding so greatly, and everyone was buying in. He was friends with all the politicians. He hosted his own galas where all the most important industrialist politicians and everybody was there. He eventually even bought the Chrysler building, managed to
Oh
pump
my.
up his evaluation by basically raising the rents on the buildings, like it was even shopping malls and things like that, raising them up very high, then getting new valuations from the real estate assessors. And because he put up the rents, he could blow up his valuation. And this is a game he just repeatedly kept playing until, of course, the shopping malls and whoever else couldn't afford to pay that high rent anymore, things like that. So pretty amazing. I wonder what type of background connections he had to pull all of that off, and who benefited ultimately. But certainly it was not the people. But for a long time, of course, he was heralded as one of the greatest, amazing businessmen in Austria, which is hilarious. And it does kind of relate to the next thing. So this is just an in-between. Just to let everyone know, the European Union now, I guess, is launching this fact-checking network. Don't you know it? I think they only have 18 members so far from what I see, not 19. But yeah, so much for, godlike power. You have it all written here. There is even, of course, the Austrian public broadcaster ORF is part of it. You have the main important German broadcasters. Yeah, so public service media are already the most trusted source of news in more than 90% of European countries. In today's landscape, collaboration is essential for us to uphold the values of accuracy, impartiality, and truth for everyone, said Derek Bowler, head of social. I wanted to read social engineering, but it says social news gathering at Eurovision News. So these guys can't be helped. Not sure what to
Jeez.
say. And the next thing actually relates to the real how do you pull off a real estate scam so huge that
This
it's
guy,
unbelievable. I have to
the
say,
Israeli guy. Is this the Israeli guy who did
yeah, I
the?
think he's
So
Israeli.
this blows my mind because I just brought this up the other day. Basically, we were talking on APM about like psychology and people who own property or come from families and things like that, and how it would affect you to be raised in a kibbutz. And here's the dude who was raised in a kibbutz, which is why I think he created this We Share company, because he just kind of is basically kibbutzing for office kids. It's like an alternative to college. Like you just take your money and have a bunch of dorms that you can all run around from each other's dorms from one to the other and have a shared cooler. And Google kind of tried this. They sold this idea for their businesses as well. But sorry, you were going to explain.
Yeah, so I think this documentation actually is really well done. It feels like a documentary movie. It's fun to watch. At the same time, I would put the caveat that I would put a big question mark on almost everything that's said in there, simply because they claim at some point the head of SoftBank, this Japanese guy, meets with him,
Yeah,
and
he
then
did.
and then he literally says, "Oh, I see the sparkle in your eyes. Just make it 100 times bigger. I see the sparkle in your eyes. That's why we're investing." And also because he got too much money from the Saudis or something. But
Mm-hmm.
still, quite a few aspects in that story sound to me like, cool story, bro. I wonder if that's really how it went down, or if that's really the whole story, or if not, at least they are together in some type of business association or whatever else that they would even consider making such kind of deals,
I
or
don't know.
whatever other things happen in the background. Because I really want to see the high level investor that's investing on something after 5 minutes, even though his entire banking committee tells him that the base numbers aren't looking right at all.
What's the name of
So
the guy? The Japanese guy. This guy. So I think I
yes,
can easily see this being true. I mean, you know, like your company gets bigger and bigger and bigger the more you evaluate. And these are all people that grew up looking at Enron and seeing how that works. And here was their chance to make this thing have this huge evaluation and then to sell all the shares in it, right? So it didn't work out properly because they were hoping to get it even bigger. But it was not just SoftBank. It's, you know, the entire idea was also he kept selling it like Steve Jobs. Like it's this cult thing that's going to be so big, and it's bigger than anything because it's Apple for real estate, and real estate is one of the best bubbles you can get into, because if there's cities that are on some sort of a technological upswing, then that's, you know, that's when you get into real estate. And they probably knew it wasn't going to last forever. I mean, I think it was 2008 or whatever that really fucked WeShare. Hold on.
No, I think
It's
it
been
was
a
a
while.
little bit later. WeWork. And actually, funnily
WeWork.
enough, in many, many years ago, maybe in, I don't even know,
I went into one of those,
2011 or whatever, yeah, I was in one of their offices in maybe in somewhere in Silicon Valley or something like this. And of course, back then people were like, oh, wow, this is like the great thing and so on. I, of course, had no clue. Also, I don't know how many offices they had. But then many years later, don't you know, another scam. Although even back then, the startup culture apparently was rallying around a few, you know, angelic figures who were handing out the money or
Yeah.
whatever. So the thing to do was to like attend their parties and connect and this and
Right.
that.
As I said, the
And, you know,
dorm rooms without college. So let me just run you through it though, because it is 2008. So in May 2008, Israeli Adam Neumann and American Miguel McKelvey established Green Desk, an eco-friendly co-working space in Brooklyn. This is how it started. In 2008, during the 2008 Occupy period. In 2010, Neumann and McKelvey sold the business and founded WeWork, renting their first location in South, how do you say Soho? What's the again? South of Houston Street in Manhattan, which opened in April 2011. Manhattan real estate, Joel Schreiber purchased a 33% share in the company for $15 million. That's the British guy, Joel Schreiber, who's involved with Waterbridge Capital. And once you get into like some of his other success, you'll see why. PepsiCo, though, that's when PepsiCo gets involved. And so in 2011, PepsiCo is also the same PepsiCo that got Obama elected, right? So it's a lobbying group is really what PepsiCo is. And they force this to succeed. By 2013, they have 350 startups, including Fidocracy and Hack Hands. So they're all the right people in New York were renting at their place. Take seed money, buy property, do nothing. Yeah, basically, except worse, because that's the thing. They were so self-obsessed, and you know, you have that kind of money for the first time.
Oh, yeah, and the other thing is, by the way, which is also part of the documentary, and that's a part which seemed legit enough, which is basically that the company owners then bought themselves private airplanes and all these mansions and so on.
Dude, like it made
expanding
plays
everywhere, but simultaneously underpaying even their own workers, which is always the point where I'm like, sorry, here I lose all empathy for you. Even if you're running a scam, at least let the cleaning lady and the regular managers and secretaries and whatever profit from it somewhat. But no, you overwork them, probably don't treat them so nice, indoctrinate them into a cult to do spontaneous parties to impress investors. I mean, this is almost North Korea stage play style.
There's a Apple TV series that you can get online.
Right. A lot of it was actually taken from there, which is why it looked so good. Yeah, I would say
it's worth watching for sure. It's a mini series and it's pretty good. I think they pretty much covered it perfectly. And the fact that I just bring it up mainly because Jared Leto's in it, which is like Mobius and Tron Ares. And Tron Ares is interesting because Ares is the god of war for Mars, and he's from the band 30 Seconds to Mars, which opened for Obama during the 2008 DNC convention celebration, right? And I think also donated to Hillary Clinton and everything else.